I think that a lot of people in my situation are in this position where, since Donald Trump announced that he'd be running for president, people have been telling them that you cannot vote for the candidate you want to vote for.
This was just the extreme result of everything else. If they're that desperate, the ones who are in control, they would do anything.
And I don't think they'll stop after the election. My prediction is Trump will win, but then I think there's going to be full-on chaos like we've never seen before. I hate to say that, but I think that's the approach they'll take because there's evil forces at play.
That's what I got out of this is strength and courage. That firefighter died by covering his wife and his daughter, and that's how he died. He died a hero, and Trump almost got assassinated and got back up and put his fist in the air.
Trump standing up and emerging, pumping his fist in the air, that iconic moment.
It's so ludicrous and so ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense, really, how he keeps going.
No, it only makes sense when you realize that this is a spiritual battleground.
It appeared that the people who did not want you to be able to vote for the candidate you want to vote for had finally gotten their way. And to think about what that would mean for this country and the world and the aftermath of an event like, who do we want to be as a country moving forward? Do we want to be the country that gets shot at, gets knocked down, gets up, and wants to continue the fight?
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Let's be heard. Welcome to a special edition of the Mike G in the Morning program from Chester County, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G, and you're participating in Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters. And you have a home in the Mike G in the Morning family. We gathered here today to have a special episode. I've got Philly Chris with me, we've got Liberty Lee, and we've got Susan Locke, owner of WFYL, joining us in the studio here today. You know, we're just days removed at this point from somebody taking an attempt on President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. And over the last few days, I've been really thinking about this and trying to figure out why exactly I reacted the way I did to this. I see on social media, it seems many other people have had the same reaction, others not so much. So I've tried to retrace my footsteps, so to speak. First, let's talk about how I heard about the news. I was sitting in my home office on Saturday, and I got a phone call from my mother-in-law. She rarely calls randomly on a Saturday afternoon, so I figured it was something important. I picked up and I said, "What's up?" She's hysterical, crying and screaming, saying they shot Trump in the head, he's dead, over and over again. Out of her mind, hysterical crying, screaming at the top of her lungs. I hear my father-in-law in the background, he's screaming as well. I ran down the stairs, I turned on the TV to find some live footage of what was going on. And after about 45 seconds or a minute, I found the channel. And it was just in time to see Trump standing up and emerging, pumping his fist in the air, that iconic moment. I'm trying to figure out exactly why, after knowing so shortly that he seemed to be okay, this impacted the way I behaved, the way I thought for the next several days. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And really what I think it comes down to, in those 45 to 60 seconds, the President Trump is dead, they killed him, they shot him in the head, was very, very real. That's what I thought was the truth at that moment in time. And to think about what that would mean for this country and the world and the aftermath of an event like that. Why is it that feeling, almost as if you're about to be in a fight? I don't know if any of you have ever had a situation where you're about to get into a fight, you're ready to go, and then for some reason it gets broken up. Maybe if you're in school, the teachers pull you apart. Maybe a bunch of guys jump in the middle and pull everybody apart. Maybe it's the police who pull you apart. I'm halfway ashamed to say that I had that happen in California while I was out there. They're being chased by a homeless person. But that feeling that you get once you're prepared to fight and you don't have that opportunity to fight is the same sort of feeling that I had in that moment, and that's been lasting with me for these last several days and have been trying to figure out why. And I think what it comes down to is in that moment, it appeared that the people who did not want you to be able to vote for the candidate you want to vote for had finally gotten their way. I think that a lot of people in my situation are in this position where since 2016, or since Donald Trump announced that he'd be running for president, people have been telling them that you cannot vote for the candidate you want to vote for. Whether it's the mainstream media, whether it's extreme people on the left telling them, no, you cannot vote for the person you want to vote for. And it really started right away. If anybody dared to say, you know what, I like Trump as a candidate before the 2016 election in those primaries. I like Trump as a candidate. I want him to be the nominee. People would say, no, you can't vote for Donald Trump. It's not going to be Donald Trump. You can't vote for Donald Trump. And your question would be, why not? This was even in the general election. I think I like Trump. No, you can't vote for Donald Trump. Why not? Oh, well, he's got no experience in government. He's not a politician. Well, yeah, that's what we actually like about him. We want Donald Trump. They say, no, you can't vote for Donald Trump because he's racist. And you say, well, what do you mean he's racist? Oh, he says racist things. Well, could you name one? Well, the way he talks about immigration. You say, hold on a second. First of all, he's talking about illegal immigration, which is something very different. And hold on, didn't Bill Clinton, didn't Barack Obama, didn't Chuck Schumer say very similar things about illegal immigration? We were all on the same page in this country until Donald Trump came along. And by the way, didn't Biden say that he didn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle? Is that not racist? Oh, no, but you can't vote for Donald Trump. And then he gets elected and they say, well, hold on a second. You can't like this guy. He's a foreign agent. He's a traitor. What are you talking about? They did this investigation. They determined that wasn't true at all. Oh, no, that's nonsense. He's a traitor. He committed treason. Mind you, these are crimes that are punishable by death. What did they do to traitors? What do they do to people who commit treason? And you're creating this narrative that this person is committing these crimes against our country, and he's getting away with it, and these are crimes that are punishable by death. And then they go on, they talk about the phone call. Impeach the guy. Let's have him impeached. Quid pro quo. Hold on a second. Didn't Biden say something eerily similar when talking about firing a prosecutor? Oh, no, that doesn't count. You can't vote for Trump. We got to impeach him. We got to get him out of office. And then we come around to this coming election. They try to remove him from the ballot. You can't vote for the guy you want to vote for. He can't even be on the ballot. And then we see the prosecutions that have come. You can't vote for this guy. We're going to put him in prison. And it all culminates with the possibility and something that was very close to reality. We're talking about millimeters where he was killed. And you can't vote for the guy that you want to vote for. And I don't think people understand that that's what this is all about. People in America just want to be able to vote for the guy they want to vote for. And if you take that away from us, then what do we have in this country? Could you imagine what would have happened to this country had Donald Trump been killed, had my mother-in-law been correct, that they killed him on the spot? Of course, we feel horrible for the man who lost his life in this tragedy, the people who are fighting for their lives in the aftermath of this tragedy. Absolutely terrible stuff. And it's something that I think I'm still processing. I'm sure a lot of you are still processing. But we're here to talk about it today. So, Philly Chris, I want to jump to you first. Does anything that I said resonate with you? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do, Mike. I think it all resonates with me. And, it's a sign of the times where we are right now. And, I think it speaks volumes about Trump and how much impact he's had, on America, and the fact that people like that he's not a politician and want him to be in the office of the presidency again. And it's crazy to me looking back and reflecting on this whole situation, how the detail that he's been provided with by our government at this time wasn't enough. There's a lot of information that's come out about the Secret Service detail that he's been given as former president, and clearly it wasn't enough. It hasn't been enough, and you have to ask why. Why has he not been afforded the protection that he deserves as the former president and somebody who's currently running for office? We see similarities with RFK, and only after this happened has the Biden administration announced that now they're going to give him Secret Service protection. So, what's driving that? What's behind that? What politically has motivated the limitations on the protection that he's been given? Because clearly it wasn't enough, and this is a failure on the part of the Secret Service and our government. I mean, how could somebody possibly get on the roof with a rifle and take that many shots at him and killing an innocent father in the crowd? So, it's very telling of the times. The politics right now are dangerous, what's going on in our country.
I was in the same building as RFK, same room, here to here many times at Gold's Venice, because that's where he worked out. And I don't want to talk about any specifics about the protection that he seemed to have, but I'll just put it this way. There's no two ways about this. It's certainly not as robust, or was not as robust as what Trump had on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Inadequate for sure, right? And do you think that I am onto something with the fact that this comes down to us not being able to vote for the guy that we want to vote for? That's the guy we want to vote for president, and we've been told over and over again, no, you can't do that. And the examples that I listed were just a few. Another one that comes to my mind is they say, oh, well, he handled the pandemic horribly, without anybody being able to give any specifics about what exactly they would have done to make things better.
Right.
They talk about the economic impact of what happened during that pandemic as if it was completely his fault.
Sure.
And completely fail to mention what they would have done differently, because I'm pretty sure that lockdowns necessarily mean there's going to be an economic impact.
Right.
So if these people on the left are somehow suggesting that they wouldn't have done lockdowns in the first place, I don't see how that lines up with everything else that they've said so far. It just goes back to, no, you can't vote for the guy that you want to vote for. Susan, I want to bounce to you for a second, because one of the first things I thought about in the aftermath of this situation is, what would Al do? And Al's gone from us far too soon, obviously. But he was the kind of guy that if we were in any kind of major disaster situation, he's the one I would want to look to. He always remained calm. He always had a plan, and he was always very certain about what the right move would have been. Did you think about that at all in the aftermath of this? Where were you when you heard the news, and how did you hear it?
I was at home. Two friends had been staying with me, and I was upstairs. I went down, and we were going to watch a movie, and they said President Trump's just been shot, and then they said he's alive. So I didn't have that moment like you did of thinking that he had passed, which was good. I think as far as Al is concerned, and I would agree with this myself, it's beyond that he's the person they don't want us, to vote for. You have to look at why. Why is that the case? It's this deep state that's been so entrenched. It's been at work for so long, for so many years now, decades. But it's extreme now. And when Trump lost in 2020, and I was just devastated, Al said, things are going to be exposed. That's why this has happened, and it's going to take a long time. And I was just really upset about it, but he's right. And that's what we have seen. So many things have been exposed during these years. They continue to be exposed. And I think they're kind of in disarray, which makes them desperate. So this on Saturday was simply the most extreme extension and final, act of what they've been doing all along to try to keep him from being a viable candidate. with the lawfare and taking away his businesses and all of the things that they've done to him. I'm just so grateful for the strength God has given him to keep going. It's miraculous. And I'm so grateful for him, his stamina and his resolve, and that he just keeps going. I know for me and for others, when we begin to feel discouraged or like despondent or whatever, it's like, well, wait a minute. If he can do it, I can too. Get up the next day and try it again, you know. He's an inspiration to me and to so many people. But I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah. Well, you've been involved in some major litigation in the past, and you know how stressful it is. Could you imagine if you had to deal with that 15 times over
going. No.
and to
and it's so
continue on?
utterly ridiculous that it's so ludicrous and so ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense, really, how he keeps going.
No, it only makes sense when you realize that this is a spiritual battle we're in, and it really is, and we just have to. But the most important and best thing to come out of this, in my mind, is a turning to the Lord as He's our only hope. He's our only hope for this country. We can't keep going the direction we've been going. And I'm hoping that rather than tearing us apart, what happened on Saturday will calm things down. And I don't know if it will or not, but I hope that it will.
So, Liberty, you've got some insight regarding the response on social media. You keep a pretty close eye on that stuff. What do you think about Susan's hope? What are you seeing in the aftermath regarding the social media?
I mean, I wanted to speak to first that I felt the same way as Susan, that like brave, like courage and strength. Like I've never seen anything like that besides people in war. You know, my dad being a veteran, he's the first one I wanted to ask, like, what did you think of his response? Like putting your fist in the air like that after Mike talks all the time about critical incidents. He was in pure shock.
Exactly.
That was his instinct.
I know.
To come out and put his fist up.
He's so courageous and so brave. Mm-hmm.
Shockingly, what I'm seeing on social media, and I just posted under something supporting him, and I shouldn't be shocked, but it was people coming at me like, that was staged. Are you kidding? This is a setup. It's called acting. Notifications all night. I didn't expect that at all.
Didn't Alex Jones get judgments against him to the tune of $1 billion or something?
Right.
By claiming that shooting was staged?
Yeah, he did.
Am I getting
That's
that
a good
wrong?
point. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. The
And,
whole Sandy Hook thing, yeah.
It's sad how many people are saying that. I can't even believe it. Somebody almost lost their life. It whizzed past his ear. It cut off some of his ear. And for anybody to have that much hate in their heart to say anything other than praying for that man, praying for his family, praying for that man who lost his life, it's beyond me.
I know.
And that's why I think you're right when you say it's a spiritual battle.
It is.
And I did get some comments from a Vietnam veteran and, you know, people who've been in combat. My dad was in Vietnam, and people saying it was acting. I said, can you act in a situation like that? I wanted to ask him, can you act? And he said, no. He said, and all of his Vietnam vet buddies, they all said they think he would have done well in Nam, quite frankly, because they said that instinct to get up and pump your fist. Some people are saying it was a show. You can't fake that.
No.
That was his instinct to get up and pump his fist and tell people that he was okay. Right. He did it for the crowd. Like, I'm okay. We got this. And that's what he meant by fight. Right. Fight for our freedoms. And beyond that, what they're saying is he did it for himself. It was a camera shot. I said, no, you can't fake it.
Well, in the aftermath of that was his raw, authentic response, was to get up and prompt everybody to keep fighting. And that just embodies the spirit that you're talking about, that the man has zero quit in him under any circumstances.
And that he was then able to be at the convention last night. And I think for anyone who saw him last night when he came out, I don't think there was any doubt looking at his face that he's been through something traumatic. You could see it in his face. He's still kind of in shock, it looked like to me. And so humbled and grateful and just happy to be there. And that wasn't feigned. I don't think that was real.
How could you possibly fake something like that in the aftermath
Right.
of what happened?
Right.
Unless you want to claim that the entire thing was a setup.
That,
And there are people on our side who do that too with different situations. There's some people you'll talk to, and no matter what they see, that what they saw didn't happen, right? And they've got some kind of alternative explanation for what really took place. And I'm halfway looking at the man to my left right now. He tends to be on that side of things.
Sure.
So there are always going to be people who take those positions. But what we saw was a very real reaction. And one thing that comes to my mind is, who do we want to be as a country moving forward? Do we want to be the country that gets shot at, gets knocked down, gets up, and wants to continue the fight? Is that the country that we want to be in this moment and moving forward?
That's
I
the
think-
American spirit that has been displayed since our founding.
Exactly. I think that's the country we were meant to be. And that's what he embodied in that moment. I did see what you were talking about, though, that he looks different in the face, and I found it interesting. A bunch of people have sent me this video clip over the last couple of days, and this video clip is somebody talking about, and this is 3 months ago, I believe it was in March, saying that, basically describing the incident almost to a T, saying a bullet was going to whiz past his head and hit his ear, and he was going to survive, and he was going to fall to the ground, and when he emerged from the ground, he was going to be on fire for Jesus from there on out. I thought that was pretty incredible that he described it the way he did, almost to a T, and we can only hope that the part about being on fire for Jesus is actually true. There is certainly something that looks different about him in the aftermath. Liberty?
They said he rewrote his speech after he, I don't know if he tore it up, don't quote me on that, but he rewrote it after this incident. So, and he had a different look on him, and like you said, and I don't know what his speech is going to be. I'm so looking forward to it because, like you said, we've all been through adversity. That's like the adversity, the most you could ever have been through, right? Like almost your life being taken like that. So like I have thought many times, and I very much believe in Jesus, and that's what I go to. But Trump, he uses people on earth to show us, right? And that courage and spirit inspired me going through something in my life. Like I got up, I'm like, man, if Trump could get up after just being shot at, I said, I can do that. I can do that. And but what I wanted to say before to finish was, they're saying that he faked it, and anything like that. They are saying that already, Mike. They are saying it was staged. And so, and the stuff about Vietnam and everything. The reason these people fight for us is to keep our freedoms. That's the reason these veterans do what they do. And Trump didn't fight in war, but he's a different type of personality. He's a leader. And they love him. They support him because he's leading our country to stop the very thing that they fight for, to stop our freedoms being taken away, freedom of speech, to vote so that we don't become like those other countries that they fought in. That's why they fight. It's deeper. And that's what I was replying to these people. I was like, enough of this, but it's unbelievable what's going on. So
he was visibly moved. He was visibly emotional. You could see it. And visibly grateful. Yeah.
He knew he could not be here today.
Right. It was a very historic moment last night, I think. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
If we get to the point where there's a significant amount of people, because right now we obviously have a certain segment of the population who believes we shouldn't be able to vote for the guy we'd like to vote for, and there are people in power doing things about it. But if we get to a point where the number of people are so significant that believe that we shouldn't have the opportunity to vote for the guy we want to vote for, Is there any point to continuing on with this great experiment we call the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America? I mean, because at that point, do we have a country anymore?
Right.
Do we
Or is
want
it
to be
time for-
globalists, or do we want to have our country? I think that's what, and I think that's where our history plays such an important part, knowing our history, and that's what they have been trying to do for so long, particularly since the early 1900s, is erase our history, remove it from the schools, don't let the kids know what really happened, don't let the kids know that the founders believed in God, and most were Christians. And if you read the Declaration and the Constitution, if you read those documents, the other things that they wrote, you'll see that their deep faith, and they don't want that. They don't want that to be known. It's a powerful. It's a powerful movement against us, but I just always bring to mind those in the past who were so brave, the people who came over. They escaped that in Europe and other countries. They fled from that kind of tyranny. And if the history is known, and then people will understand what they went through and what they sacrificed to make that journey here, to the Pilgrim's feet across the wilderness, what they went through, so that we can sit here in air-conditioned comfort today,
Exactly.
And it's just for the sake of the truth that the Bible teaches us, and for the sake of those who've gone before in faith and courage. I think it's really important to keep standing. But we also can't discount the miraculous in our history. There have been so many miracles. This brought to mind, what happened with Trump brought to mind to me what happened to George Washington when he was
Tell the story.
in the French and Indian War. The bullets went through his coat. The Indians had a special name for him, which I can't remember right now. They recognized that he had been protected by the divine. They knew that there was something special about this person, and I don't know. It is a royal battle, and it's heated up because the enemy sees, I think, that courage is rising up in the hearts of the people.
In the direct aftermath, after realized that, okay, he's alive, he's going to make it. Obviously, terrible what happened to that firefighter in the audience and those other people
Tragic.
who were harmed. Without the permanent national implications that we would have seen had it been Trump, it's still just as tragic. We feel terrible for their families. But in that aftermath, once they realized they hadn't killed Trump, one of the things that came to my mind is, if they're so dead set on people not being able to vote for the candidate that they want to vote for, and that they would like to discard the will of the people. This is the guy that the people have chosen to be their candidate, win or lose in the general election. And they say, no, you can't even make that decision. Then is it time for some kind of amicable national divorce? That's one of the things that floated through my head. But as I saw many people's reactions, it seemed that a lot of folks who maybe hadn't been public about their support to Donald Trump in recent memory came out and gave that public support. That iconic photo with him pumping his fist in the air saying fight after just being shot and nearly killed, and rallying the people. America needs to stand up to this fight. This is not going to take us out. We're not going to lay down for this. And a lot of people standing behind that who hadn't publicly supported him before gave me a little bit of hope. I lose a little bit of that hope when I hear what Liberty's seeing on social media. Maybe it doesn't make it to my feed quite,
Right.
because I'm seeing a lot of that iconic photo, and these are from people who are not, previously open Trump supporters. And it does seem that in general there are many people who regret their decision in 2020 if they voted against him and are coming back around. So,
There was the one Latina woman last night who
Yes.
said that.
yes.
Yes, she said she regretted it.
Oh, we had Johnny Chaffin on the program, Liberals for Trump. He did not vote for Biden in 2020, although he has
Right.
been accused of it. But this is a man who didn't like Trump in 2016 when he was elected. And now he supports Trump at this point in the election. We had another gentleman, Brother Nathan, on the program who voted against Trump in 2016, voted for Trump in 2020, and he's going to vote for Trump again. But there are a lot of people who seem to be making that switch and going on to people who did vote for Biden in 2020 and now are going to be voting for Trump.
Well,
So long as we get him there, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What's that, Liberty?
They had Amber Rose speaking at the Republican convention, and it's just such a contrast. Like years ago, can you imagine? I love it. That's why I love Trump, because he's a down-to-earth guy, and he doesn't like tattoos. But Amber Rose at the RNC with that tattoo across her forehead, and just not looking like the typical Republican, right? With the tattoos, and they all came together.
Well, they had the Teamsters too.
Right, the
head of the
and-
Teamsters.
right, and
That
he's up
was
there with that
incredible.
accent, and
Yeah.
I love it. Trump brings people together, and
He does.
it reminds me of the Bible. Jesus, Matthew, the tax collector. Nobody liked Matthew, right? He went for the people who were not, the outcasts. He went for the outcasts, and that's what I felt from day one about Trump. And people who aren't Christian were like, "How can you like him? Because, this and that. He's not the perfect Christian, right?" But you can see a genuine change. I mean, you can't know somebody's heart, but you can see a genuine change in him, that he loves the country. He wants it to be good for his family.
There are people who say that he hates the country. That's what the left says, but that isn't true. I believe he really loves the country.
No,
I don't understand what the motivation would be to continue through all of this.
Right.
Because at some point, you have enough money.
Yeah.
You're old enough. You've done enough things in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need another achievement.
Right.
Or you could make your next achievement something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why do I need to be bothered with all this
Right,
stuff?
right. Yeah, with the money he has, he could be on a yacht somewhere, on an island somewhere,
Literally.
just
I think
relaxing
he has
with
that
the lawn
Patriots
and his
heart.
family.
Literally.
Yeah, he
Don't you?
does. Yeah,
literally.
The-
he
He
doesn't
has
have
that
to be doing
Patriots
this.
heart.
That's for sure.
He
Could
would
be
die
doing-
with the ship.
He could do
Yeah.
anything
That's
that he wants to be doing is the bottom line.
Yeah.
And this seems to be what he wants to be doing.
And he really is putting himself in harm's way, as we.
Put his life
Yeah,
on the
right.
line.
He's putting
Literally,
his life on the line.
if
yeah.
you have everything, you have everything to lose.
Mhm.
And that's what it shows me. He can lose everything that he's built his entire life, his legacy from his parents.
Well, you made that Fortunate Son video. Why don't you explain a little bit about the reasoning behind that video that you put together?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I thought of an idea for a video. I'm still putting it together, but I always, again, my dad being in Vietnam, it affected me. I don't even think my dad knows how much it affected me being a young girl, finding out that after he went out, for this war that wasn't his choice, but was chosen to go fight in that war, and was sent over there and dropped into a land. I mean, can you imagine what that's like? I've always imagined that as a young girl. And he didn't speak too much about it, but he would sometimes. And that song, I don't know if everybody's seen Forrest Gump, but that song Fortunate Son in Forrest Gump, it just always connected with me, because it's just, and it was during that time period. And people were chosen for war a lot of times that weren't in college, or, they didn't have a choice and they were drafted, right? People who didn't have a reason not to go. And they were fortunate, right? They had the money, they were able to not go. Well, Donald Trump is that fortunate son, literally. He's literally the son of a millionaire billionaire. I don't know if his dad was millionaire billionaire, but he's literally a fortunate son. But yet he is willing to give up everything, even though he's that fortunate son. So I thought of a video to show this man who's got everything gold, everything ceiling to wall, everything to lose, and he is choosing to not be that fortunate son that he is.
And of course, a lot of people who are critics will come back and say, well, he didn't fight in Vietnam when he had the opportunity. And that will be their criticism of what you just said. What would you say to that?
Well, I literally asked the Vietnam veteran that I knew and what his buddies thought as well. And they said, first of all, well, he would have done really well out there. If his first instinct is to come out and pump his fist after being shot at, he would have done really well. But again, like I said, I think there's people for a time such as this, and people have different purposes in life. I believe it's, their godly purpose in life, and that Trump, his purpose is to be a leader for this time, and to fight in this way to keep those freedoms that these men fought for, like my dad. My dad went over there to fight, could have lost his life. I could not be here today. A lot of his friends never came back. And other people, Mike has a buddy, Dom, fought in Afghanistan, combat veteran. They could all not be here. They didn't fight for this country to fall. They didn't fight for our freedoms to be taken away. They fight so that we could live and that we can have, freedom of religion, all of that. So.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to talking about Trump and the way he reacted in the aftermath, I think a lot of people found that very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if they were not going to vote for him or had never considered supporting him, they said, that's the guy I want leading this country. Mm-hmm. That's the person with the attitude and the mental toughness.
Sure.
That's off the charts.
Strength.
Mm-hmm.
To be representing our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I've felt some kind of obligation since that happened to more publicly support Donald Trump, because we talk about how he's putting everything on the line. He doesn't need to deal with this. I think a lot of us have avoided public support of Donald Trump in certain settings simply because we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with what comes with it. I don't feel like fighting with you right now. I don't feel like defending myself about why I support him or what I believe in or what I like about him. I'm just exhausted. I'm over it. You guys have been doing this for 8 years now.
Yep.
And I'm sick and tired of it. But I think that we've got an obligation from here on out to just sort of, bite down on our lip and get after it and support him no matter
There's
what
such
the
a
consequences
stark contrast between the two sides, because there's a side that knows our history, believes in the. Yes, we have problems. We do. And there are things that need to be changed, but we're positive about our country. Then there's the other side that really just believes that we're racist, believes that we're evil, believes all these terrible. They've been teaching this to the children for so long, and these are lies. They're absolute lies. So there's a stark contrast between the two sides.
Are you at all surprised that we saw this attempt on Trump's life? I know he's been around for a while now in the public eye, but are you surprised at the end of the day?
I was shocked, like everyone else. It's not really surprising. What's surprising is how many public rallies and everything, thousands and thousands of people, and all of those events are happy. The people are happy. They come because they do support the country and they're grateful for him. And they're not negative, evil gatherings. They're very positive gatherings. But he has been in the open so much that I guess I've wondered. It's dangerous for him to be out in the open like that. And that's another reason I admire him for his courage so much. As far as being surprised about it, I guess I was as surprised as everybody else when it happened and shocked.
But when you look back on it and you see what they've been saying about him for this many years, that he is this awful racist, that he's a traitor, which, as I said, is a crime that's punishable by death, and that he's getting away with this crime that warrants the death penalty, and that he's a foreign agent,
this is just the
and that he's a threat to our country.
Extreme
He's a threat to
result.
he's a threat to democracy.
He's
And
Hitler.
Chris, when I say democracy, I'm talking about democracy in principle, not saying that the United States of America is a direct democracy.
Right.
Constitutional republic.
Exactly.
He's a threat to a constitution. He's a threat to constitutional republic.
Right.
Clearly, that's not the context. But when you say all of these things about him over and over and over again, and people get brainwashed into believing that is exactly what he is, he's a threat to our country, and our country will never be able to function. I'm not going to have freedom if this man is allowed to run for president. Are we really surprised that something like this happened? You
No.
can't go out there and
Not
say
really.
all that stuff over and over again
Right.
Right.
and expect something bad not to happen. To expect that there's not somebody out there who's going to try to take matters into their own hands if
Well,
they
they've
think
done
that
everything
this person.
else. This is just the final, most extreme step. And they've tried with the ballot. They've tried to steal our votes.
Remove them from the ballot.
Well, and even in that there has been such corruption in the voting system and the mail-in ballots. All of that. There's all of that. The lawfare, all these things. It's been relentless. Relentless attacks.
Well,
So
Elon just put out some warfare against that because he pledged $45 million per month for every month leading up to the election for that. I think for that purpose to help fight against that.
good.
Yeah.
Is he someone who voted for Biden in 2020?
I think he may have, actually. Yeah, I think he's talked about that in the past, and he said some negative things about Trump, although now I think he's come out to fully support him.
He endorsed him in the aftermath of what happened the other day.
Right. And there's just been a lot of irrational hate on the left. I was watching a reel that popped up on my feed. And, somebody put a compilation clip of all the people on the left who have come out basically, talking about how there should be more violence directly against Trump. Whether it was Madonna threatening to blow up the White House or, people specifically talking about, how there should be real, true violence against Trump. So,
Well, let's go
you
through
see
it,
that
right?
on the
Kathy
left.
Griffin holding
Right,
the
exactly.
head
Yeah,
up,
that
right?
was in the clip too.
George
yeah.
Lopez posting the cartoon with his head. You have Johnny Depp saying that it wouldn't be the first time an actor assassinated a president.
Right.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
But they always accuse the right of being violent. But
They're the ones who are always urging people to be violent.
They're straight saying that we're the violent ones, but literally I can recall 2 events now. They tried to assassinate the president and Steve Scalise. You guys remember that, right? So they're doing the same thing. You guys are the ones, while literally they're doing what they're saying. Same thing. They're saying that Trump's trying to take away their freedom while they're literally trying to jail him. So, and I don't want to, we're trying to bring everything together. So unfortunately, I do see what people are saying, so I can't help but, see that. And you too.
Well, hopefully more people are waking up to this. Just as they say, we can't let him get into office because he's going to put his political opponents in prison.
Right.
Hold on a second. That sounds awfully familiar. Where have I heard this before?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, so your argument is he's going to put his political opponents in prison, so we have to put our political opponent in prison so he can't put us in prison.
I haven't seen a
sorry.
mugshot of Biden. So,
Another thing, when we're talking about the things leading up to it, the things people have said and incited, ultimately these same people come out in the aftermath and say, they wish him a speedy recovery. And it really doesn't make any logical sense that he's a threat to democracy. He's literally Hitler. He's a foreign agent. He's a traitor. And just continue on down the line. If he is any one of those things, how do you possibly wish him a speedy recovery sincerely and genuinely? Those two
point.
don't go together. You
That's
can't say, you deserve the death penalty, but I wish you a speedy recovery. We
True.
think you're the same as the person who's responsible for the Holocaust, but we also wish you a speedy recovery. Those two don't go together.
exactly.
And so either they have to come out and give public apologies for everything that they've said that is completely not true, right? They have to admit, hey, all that stuff that I said, it's all nonsense, all right? it's nonsense.
Yeah, which we
So
know
I
is not
wish him
gonna
a speedy recovery. Or you say, no, all that stuff's true, and I don't wish him a speedy recovery at all.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
True.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't wish Hitler a speedy recovery.
Yeah,
My mom was
sure.
the director of the Holocaust, an educational Holocaust part in New Jersey when she was a teacher. And so I grew up learning like so many details. I'm sure, everybody knows details, but I mean, literally think about those gas chambers, think about what they did. And you're going to compare this man to Hitler? Like, how do you not like the man if people are saying that? How do you support that man? How do you do that? It doesn't make sense. So
Well, you wish
he's
him
not
a speedy
Hitler.
recovery.
Right. It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
It is crazy.
can't
Susan,
do
you're
that.
going to say something?
I forget what it was.
Okay. We were just talking about how you can't say both of those things at the same time. It doesn't make any logical
it's incongruous.
sense.
The
Yeah.
whole thing. Well, that's the gaslighting and the projection and everything is so.
Projection, that's a good word.
Oh yeah,
Projection, yeah.
Yeah.
that's exactly what they
It's
do.
offensive to so many to say that. So I hope that
Yeah.
rhetoric stops.
Yeah.
I hope
Yes.
they stop
Yes.
calling him things that he is not.
Well, it's
Well,
telling
again,
of a propaganda. too.
That's right. And I just go back to praying for revival,
Yeah.
for returning to the Lord, and we're all American citizens. Well, we're not all American citizens, but you know what I mean. That truth will come to light, and that we will do what Jesus said: to love God and to love one another, love our neighbors as ourselves, because we can't go down this road in the negative way. It will lead to violence and war. And people who say that we should have that or they want that don't know what they're talking about.
What makes
They
you
don't
say
know.
that?
Well, the Civil War, do they know how many people died? Do they know what that was really like? Read accounts of that. We don't want that. We don't really want that. The divide is so great that really only God can bring us together.
I was going to ask that because they're calling for unity.
There can't be unity with things that are diabolical. We can't.
No.
We can't. We can't compromise with things that are diabolical.
And we need to come together. Our enemies are watching. And I can't think of a time in our country, in modern history when we've been weaker, and this divided. And that's why our enemies are sitting back watching, because
Well, here's
we're
one.
destroying ourselves.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. And this brings me to another thought that I think people think that people of our point of view are in the minority. I don't know that that's true. I think that the mainstream media is really at fault and not just complicit, but maybe at fault for most of this great divide.
That's right. Yeah, a lot
And
of them are in on it.
they make it seem that those in the minority who hold these extreme positions are in the majority, and it isn't true. It really isn't true. But they make it seem that way, and they use social media, and they use movies and music and
Sure.
television and everything. But I just think it's being exposed.
Yeah.
I think it's being exposed, and I think that there's confusion in the other camp.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that's a good thing.
What's right is wrong. What's wrong is right.
Yep.
That's what's going on. And I think it's funny because I know Mike with the fight mentality. When Trump did that, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he's saying fight," but he's not saying fight in the sense of actual fight. Same with January 6th. They accused him of that, but
Clearly not. I have the word fighter tattooed on my left wrist, and it has nothing to do with physical fighting. It has to do with having a fighter mentality.
Yeah, it's a state of mind.
If life knocks you down, get back up and fight.
yeah,
So
And
I
also,
don't. I didn't
literally-
take what he said as fighting.
Right,
Well,
right.
Like everybody start fighting one another.
Yeah, well, of
He
course
literally-
they're going to try to say that, but yeah, it's a state of mind,
and he
You
literally
need to
got
stand
knocked
up to
down.
this, Yeah.
He literally got knocked down.
I'm thinking of Ephesians 6, where we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, the
Right.
forces in the heavenly realms, and he tells us then how to fight, how to stand and fight, and having done all, stand. That's where our fight is.
Amen.
Not,
even
not
with-
quite as profound, but Rocky Balboa
Oh.
gave speeches about how you fight in life, right?
right.
Nobody's going to hit as hard as life.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not
That's
about
true.
how hard you could hit.
Yeah.
It's about how hard you could get hit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But I will say, with that fighter instinct, Mike, I was curious for you, how do you bring yourself down a notch? Because when you're being shot at or when something's happening to somebody that you love, I mean, I honestly call him Uncle Trump because I feel like he's like a part of my family. But how do you think, or how can you lead others to, turn that feeling of, I want to fight for this man who almost just got killed, just like if your dad or your mom almost just got killed, or your son or your daughter, right? You want to fight. But Jesus, said they know not what they do, and he forgave. So how do we mesh those two together?
I
That's
may
the
not be the
question.
greatest person to answer that question right now. I think I'm still, frankly, trying to sort through all of that. One thing I do know is that I'm going to be much more vocal about my support from here on out, and I really don't care who knows about it, and I really don't care who has a problem with it.
That's good.
And I'm going to wear this hat to the grocery store. I'm getting shirts made up that I'm going to be wearing to the gym, and that's the end of that. I think that's the right thing to do in this moment. And
Right.
another thing is that everybody needs to be registered to vote and actually vote.
Right.
You can't forget about it. It's not something that's negotiable at this point. Every single person, you need to remember that moment
Right.
on Saturday
True.
and not let it become a distant memory.
Yeah.
Because Americans, we have a very short
Very,
memory.
very short.
Very
Very
short.
short.
Especially in the age of
Nanoseconds.
social media,
Right,
where
right.
you have a 24-hour news cycle. I
Yeah.
mean, stuff goes from the morning to the evening, and it's already old news.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can't let this memory
Yeah.
fade of that moment, and we need to encourage others to get out there and vote
Absolutely.
as soon as possible.
And follow
I know
your
that we
vote.
complain. A lot of people on our side of the aisle complained about the mail-in voting system and everything like that. But I think this is the time that you've got to just use it to your advantage
Right.
and make sure people just get out of the way. You
In
get a
that
flat tire,
regard-
your car breaks down on election day, and you can't get there. You don't take that chance. Don't take the chance that your boss tells you got to go on a business trip,
Right.
to a different state or something like that. Just get it done as quickly as possible.
Go ahead.
In that regard, like if you're wearing your hat, and so people ask you if we have the opportunity to speak, I'm really praying for wisdom to be able to speak the truth in love to people.
Yeah.
Because, like you, I've been reticent. I have been very reluctant to speak out and talk about
Yeah.
it. But
Do you own a "Make America Great Again" hat?
Al did. It's
Okay.
it's in my house.
It's time to dust it off.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I want to see you when I see you at the Acme in Chester Springs. You better be wearing that hat, otherwise I'm going to be very disappointed.
So you're going to put me to the test here and see if I can do what I'm saying.
Well, I've been pretty vocal, and I go out and I wear my "Let's Go Brandon" shirt a lot, and I've been doing that for years. And it's interesting the people that approach you. So I think when you actually go out into the public and
I halfway
do
want to
that, yeah.
retire the "Let's Go Brandon" shirt, though, because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that from here on out, it's more about support for Trump than distaste
Being
for
negative.
Biden.
Yeah, that's a good
You know,
point. Well, that'll
It's
bring us
not even
together
about
anyway.
we think
Yeah.
he did a terrible job. It's
Mhm.
about this is the guy that we want to get behind,
Yeah.
and this is the guy that we want leading our country for the next 4 years.
Mhm.
So maybe it's just a thought.
Yeah,
I
no,
went to go
it's
put it
a-
on the other day before I went to the gym, the
Yeah.
"Let's Go Brandon," and I decided against it. I said, you
Gotcha.
know what? This isn't about our distaste for
Sure,
him. It's
sure.
about we need to support.
No, it's a good
Trump.
point.
We
And
have
I think
some
Trump
great
has
shirts.
even talked about that now with what happened, that he wants to focus more on bringing the country together. So I think
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it's a good approach, Mike.
That's
That
what I was
makes
going to
sense.
ask for
Yeah.
you, Philly,
Positive.
Chris.
Yeah.
Same question I posed to Mike.
Mhm.
How do you think we can go from, man, like what just happened to
Sure.
to bring?
Yeah,
bring
well,
us
I thought
together?
about wearing it today, and I actually didn't. So it's in line with what you're saying, Mike. I think it is time to move forward and to come together. And I hope Trump does do what he said about that, because he is pretty divisive. And if he softened his approach a little bit, then maybe that will bring some folks on the left who have been a little bit apprehensive about voting for him. So hopefully that will happen, because it'll just take a little bit of a shift in that regard to get the votes necessary for him to win the election. But we can't also assume that there's going to be this great big red wave, that they talk about, even in the light of what just happened. So
do you find it hard though? I think I have to ask people, because I found out similar the way to Mike. I actually thought he was dead. So I still feel like I'm in a little bit of shock. I know my mother-in-law also had said she was still in shock after it too. So I think those of us who saw it or didn't know that he was okay are still like in shock and kind of like processing it, like, just from like watching, not obviously as much as him, but if he can get up and do that, then whatever, but then we can. But do you feel, maybe you found out in a softer way?
I did. A friend of mine texted me, and basically the text said he's okay, but he was shot. So I didn't have that initial reaction that you did, Susan, or other people, where we were told, or what would happen with you, Mike, where you were told he was dead. So maybe it's good, but that it's still very shocking. So. But I think it is time for us to come together, and I like the fact that he's going to take that approach. So I think that's a good approach going forward.
A good friend of mine who has a very similar personality, and we have very similar viewpoints, found out about it they were driving, and his wife read the news with the portion that he was nicked in, he was hit in the ear.
Right. And
I found it interesting that his overall response to this was not the same as mine, even though we have very similar personalities and very similar viewpoints, probably because of the way he received the news and had all of the information like that. Yeah. But that's just where we are today. And when we start to look forward, you're talking about, coming together and everything like that, what percentage of people do you think can actually be reasoned with? I don't even want to say convinced to vote for Donald Trump if they haven't or anything like that, but what percentage of people are even receptive to that at this point? Because you got to understand there is a certain percentage of people who you cannot reason with them.
Right.
They are so beyond reason at this point. They have terminal Trump derangement syndrome. These are the people saying horrible, horrible things on social media. And you're just, no matter what. We talked about after the debate on the last episode, when I think 33% of people said that Biden won that debate. Those are people. Those are people who would have said that no matter what.
No matter
Maybe
what.
they didn't even watch the debate, but they would have
Probably,
said that no matter what happened. That one lady we spoke to at the carnival said, I said, is there a point that Biden could get to that you would vote for Trump instead of him? And she said no. There's literally no physical state he could get to.
And I think it is a small percentage, Mike, to answer your question. I think it's very small, and I think the media has a lot to do with that.
Media has so much to do with
I've even seen people on social media, some things popped up on my feed where they're like having these fits of rage that he wasn't killed, that they were so disappointed that he wasn't taken out. This one woman was literally screaming like, I can't believe the shooter failed. Like, how could you not have killed him? So, there is unfortunately a pretty large percentage of people out there who are so deranged that they would want to have seen him killed that day. And no matter what, they're not going to change their mind. It doesn't matter. I think maybe now after the debate, maybe the debate had more of an impact positively in that regard, because they're seeing the truth on the screen of, his
Well, we spoke to that lady after the debate.
Yeah, true.
We haven't released the carnival footage yet.
Right,
But we had that one conversation with that woman who was nice and everything.
Sure.
But I just don't understand how you could say, this guy could be brain dead and I'd still vote for him because I don't like Donald Trump.
Exactly.
And then there's that other lady who wouldn't even allow her friend. I guess she was in charge of her friend.
Yeah, apparently.
I wouldn't allow her to speak because her quote was 100% of black women vote against Donald Trump, so she's not talking to you.
I guess she never heard of Candace
a
Owens.
liberal white woman speaking for her friend.
I wanted to say something too, just for the people out there who don't like him so much. Like, when I was doing that Fortunate Son video, like, how much footage I found of him just with the regular people,
Mm-hmm.
like out in Ohio, shaking hands, buying pizza, serving firefighters. Who is, a millionaire, billionaire who could be in the Cayman Islands chilling out, like doing that? I mean, he's at the border, shaking the hands of the people who are on the front lines. He's out there, he's with the regular people. Like, look at the footage. Don't listen to the media. Go out there and look up some stuff that he's actually been doing. When he was in East Palestine, Ohio, after the train incident or the oil spill, go look at what he's doing.
Well, to touch on what Susan brought up earlier about the deep state and, the propaganda and the media. I mean, that's how effective this whole thing has been over the past 8 years since he was last president. They have really control over these media outlets. That's why, we try to do what we do independently. But if you're working for one of the big networks, you kind of have to go along with that. And, we saw what happened with Tucker even. Unless you're completely free and independent of that. And most people just turn on the big networks, whether it's Fox or CNN or whatever the case may be, and they're just going to hear what's regurgitated through those outfits, and they control that message.
Yeah, they're not hearing that he's like paying off people's mortgages. And
Yeah,
like, that's,
sure.
That's
No,
the guy I voted for.
And how many lies have there been? How much of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be real conspiracies?
One
the
thing
truth
I
is
will
coming
want to
out,
say,
I think, like Al said, but it's taken some time.
one thing I do want to say, because you're talking about those sick people on the other side who said those horrible things in the aftermath, I'm personally hoping that they dramatically increase and harden the security for Biden from here on out.
Sure.
Because if this exposed some kind of potential failure in the Secret Service,
Exactly.
then I think I really hope that they step their game up with that and take extra measures to
Yes.
protect him
Yeah.
leading up to the election. And because if this could prevent something horrible from happening in the future,
Sure.
then let that be that warning sign.
Yeah, and it might embolden the wrong person too, possibly. That's a concern I have.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the point of that this was just the extreme result of everything else that's been done. And if they're that desperate, the ones who are in control, who want that much to get rid of him, they could do the same to Biden. To bring chaos to the country. They want to bring the country down.
Sure.
So they would do anything.
And I don't think they'll stop after the election. I mean, my prediction is
no.
Trump will win, but then I think there's going to be full-on chaos like we've never seen before. I hate to say that, but I think that's the approach they'll take, because there's evil forces at play that are not going to go along with that. They're not going to just stand down after he takes office. They're going to do everything in their power to continue to divide us and create some sort of civil war, or continue the conflict that's going on in Ukraine and with Russia. And I think we're going to see things we've never seen before. As bad as things have been, I think even when Trump wins, we're going to enter into an even darker period.
Well, that's where prayer comes in. We really need to pray
Yeah.
against that. Pray that there will be divine intervention.
And they're going to blame it on him. They're going to say it's him.
Well, yeah, that would be their strategy. I agree with you.
I mean, these types of things are the things that put us on the brink of wars, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're right on the razor's edge right now, with Russia
You've
and
been
some of the
saying
equipment
that.
we've been deploying against them, and things that have come out, that
been so
we're not
weakened.
supposed to be doing. So, can you even blame Putin for reacting the way he is based on what we're doing? And the whole stuff with NATO, we were supposed to hold the line with NATO, and now we're expanding that. And, Putin did warn us that if we did those things, he would take action. So, I mean, to me, it almost seems like that's what they want. In the deep state, people behind this, the players that are behind the scenes that you don't hear about and know their names, they're the ones that are really pulling those levers to make those things happen. So,
But you think that in the next 4 years, they're not going to stop? You think that the opponent's fighting spirit is as great as Donald Trump's fighting spirit?
Yeah, I think it's so evil.
They're never
and-
going to give up.
Yeah, and I don't think they can, because they know what will happen to them if they lose. So for them, it's the battle of survival to continue that fight, and they don't care about us. They don't care about our country. They look at it on a global scale, and they want to have this new world government, new world order, whatever you want to call it. I've talked about the collapse of the dollar. I think we're going to see more things financially happen. And I think we're just getting into it. This is just the beginning of, I think, what's to come, unfortunately. Yeah.
One of the things that upset, I think, a lot of people during Trump's first term is how he was not afforded the opportunity to just do his job.
Sure.
And of course, people are
Exactly.
looking back today and saying, my life was better at that point in time, and you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Right.
But as we were going through those 4 years, with all the obstacles they put in his way to impede his success,
Yeah.
it was very frustrating for a lot of people who voted for him, which goes back to what I talked about at the beginning of this episode, that they didn't want us to have the opportunity to have our guy be in charge.
Right.
This is the guy that we wanted to be in charge and lead, and they were not going to let that happen. They were going to throw every obstacle in the way that they possibly could, and he didn't have really a fair shake at his 4 years.
Sure.
Even though when you look back on it, a lot of people think that their lives were better off at that point in time than they are right now, despite all the obstacles that he encountered. So if it was frustrating for those 4 years, I could only imagine if what you say came to fruition and he finally gets back,
Right.
and then they try to prevent him from accomplishing anything.
Sure.
That would be extremely frustrating.
Absolutely.
For the people who
One
voted for him.
advantage to the terrible things that have been happening since Biden took office is that it is exposing in all of these different areas and departments and everything the corruption and the deception and the people who have really committed criminal acts. So I'm hopeful that if there can be a change in administration and good people, we need to pray for him for wisdom to put good people in those spots. If good people can be in positions of authority, then let's not have lawfare. Let's have laws. What's the word I'm looking for?
Fair law? Instead of lawfare, fair
laws,
law.
Respected and enforced. Laws
Yeah.
enforced
Yeah.
and prosecution of those who have broken those laws.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could.
But you
it
know
could turn
exactly
around
what
for
they're
good.
going to do. If you prosecute anybody, they're going to say, oh, look what he's doing. He's going after his political opponents.
Of course,
No matter what. Even though it's exactly what they did. And it's exactly what they said he was going to do in his first term, which he didn't. They
Right.
said,
Right.
oh, he was chanting. They had the lock her up chance,
Right,
right? The
right.
lock her up chance. He's going to
Yeah.
put her in prison. And he didn't.
Yeah.
And they go after him, and that's okay.
Right,
And then
right.
if he goes after if they prosecute anybody like you're talking about, there are going to be those criticisms from the mainstream media, from people on the left.
Absolutely.
I just wonder how many people are going to be wise to it by then.
I don't know. I'm encouraged by the rising up of the people. I don't know if any of you saw the rally in Philadelphia a couple of weekends ago. Was it a week or two ago? We turned on the TV and were watching that, and people started lining up in the morning there in Philly. And peaceful, happy, hot. It was hot outside.
Sure,
They
yeah,
were
it's been
all
hot
there.
lately, yeah.
And positive. It was a joyous occasion. And I don't know how many. It was at Temple in their indoor auditorium where they play basketball, I guess. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people, all positive. And of course, in the media, I heard somebody in the media afterwards say, there were so many empty seats in that stadium.
Well, of course there were. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
I
was-
think
which
that
is
that
all-
might have been the one where they had seats on the basketball court floor. And so they said, because of these, you can't have the ones at the tippy top filled up because it exceeds the capacity.
Oh,
But there
okay.
was standing room only, though.
Yeah.
I was watching with
Oh,
what I was
really?
watching. They were panning around, and it was completely full, standing
Yeah.
room only.
Oh, wow.
And then they brought some pictures forth of another rally that had been held there, something else that had empty seats
Oh,
at
gotcha.
the top, and they they interposed that. At least that was what I heard.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
I love how he went to the
positive about
Philly
that.
place before and got the cheesesteak or something, and he wrote no tax on tips. And he's like, tell everybody that. But yeah, he went.
He tipped him like $500 or something.
Did he really? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he tipped him like 500, and then he like.
That's a
bought
smart move. He
for-
might get some
yeah.
more people on the left to come around with that.
But I don't even think that's
Yeah.
why he does it. He just loves interacting with people.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
does
he
love
likes
to be
the
out
people,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Very real that way.
Susan, you talked about him choosing the right people to surround him during this next administration, and that's a criticism that I had during his first administration.
Yes, indeed.
I questioned his judgment on a lot of these things, where he'd put people in who were from, the establishment, basically,
Right.
and they didn't want him to succeed, and they weren't on board with his agenda, and frankly tried to sabotage him in many ways. What do you think about his first decision for this next administration in choosing J.D. Vance as his vice president?
It seems to be a good decision. I have to say I don't know that much about J.D. Vance. I haven't read his book. He sounds good. But I don't know enough really to answer that question.
That's the most common answer that I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
so far. And you're like, great. Who the heck is J.D. Vance?
Yeah, it's interesting you went with somebody who isn't as well known, but maybe there's some reasons behind that. Yeah.
I think he's 39.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
really?
He's
oh,
young.
Is he? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
I've seen a compilation of footage from him in 2016 saying some terrible, terrible things about Trump.
Yeah, I've
And
heard about that. Yeah.
His side of the story is that he was against Trump when he ran the first time, and then after seeing him as the president for 4 years, he thought he did a great job, and he was
Well,
on board by the end of the
People can
administration.
change their opinions. That's good.
Which
That's good. Yeah.
That's somewhat fair.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like that he wasn't on board at the beginning
Right,
and everything
right.
like that.
I'm sure they'll use that
he
against
bought
him
into
and-
the he bought into the
Never
I don't
Trump.
know, propaganda, I guess you would call it, from
Yeah.
the left and the mainstream
Sure.
media.
Well, it was easy to buy into that if you weren't looking further, looking past that.
Yeah, but bro, I refuse to claim that I'm that smart or anything like that.
Well, you
oh,
are.
I'm way ahead of the game from everybody, and yeah, it's understandable that he can get that because he's not quite as smart as me. I don't buy that. I mean, dude went to Yale Law School, I'm pretty
True.
sure.
True.
So I don't know. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, and even though that's seems to be more of a street smart, common sense thing than a book smart, intellectual sort of
Yeah.
decision, right?
Maybe
Yeah.
because he'll understand it from the people who didn't like Trump. Maybe he'll try to explain more to them. I think he wrote a book, something about hillbillyology or something.
Yeah.
Maybe
saw something
I don't
about
know,
that,
but
yeah.
maybe he'll be able to understand the perspective of people who didn't like him and now do, and try to get some more people.
Yeah.
And but he was a Marine, and after what happened to Trump, maybe it's good to have somebody with tactical experience next to him.
True.
One thing that I heard is that some of the traditional neocons are furious with the picks, such as John Bolton, these people who are for the military-industrial complex, which is I think that's a good sign. That's the
Right,
first
right.
good sign that I've heard.
Yeah.
If you're making those people irritated, then I'm probably gonna like you. And this party has really become the anti-needless war party, and we want to don't want war.
Yeah,
Sick and
yeah.
tired of war,
Yeah.
and whatever we can do to avoid war is sometimes unavoidable.
Sure.
But it
Well, I hope there's
really,
enough time.
It rings similar to what we saw from the left in decades past, right? From the traditional liberals who didn't want to be involved in war.
Yeah.
And you had the people on the right who were, I don't want to say pro-war, but
Sure.
a little less hesitant to go to war in
Right,
a lot of
right.
situations. And if Vance is on that side of things where he wants to avoid war, hey, let's avoid all the war that we can.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I hope there's enough time to avoid it. I hate to say it, but I think, now that Trump is doing so well in the polls, and after this happened in the debate, the left is looking at it and they probably see him winning too. So I hope they don't escalate what's going on in Ukraine before it's too late for Trump to get into office and try to resolve that, because I do think he could resolve that. I think he could end that pretty quickly, because he doesn't see it the same way that the current administration does. But if things escalate to a point of no return before that, which would be a concern of mine, then
And with
that's going to
Israel.
make it very difficult for him once he gets into office.
Yeah. With Israel too.
Yeah, that
So
too.
it's a
Sure.
lot
There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all that happened in the past 4 years. So quite a bit to handle.
And do you think there will be some kind of a push to delay the election or anything like that based upon
That's
an
interesting.
escalation of-
Like there's something to that. Is there some validity with that? I mean, maybe. I don't think they'll be able to pull that off, but maybe they'll try to push for it.
anything else for the good of the order? This has been a lot of fun getting
Yeah,
back together
yeah,
with
it's
the
great.
gang.
Back in the studio again. We got Susan here. So it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Any final words, Susan?
No, I appreciate the chance to be with you. It's good to see you all.
I'm sure Liberty's got a lot to say left. What do you got to say?
No, I mean, I think we said it all. I just encourage people to watch his speech. I think he's a changed man after that. I mean, in a good way.
We need to pray for him
Yeah.
all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful to God for sparing him.
Yes.
So grateful.
It
And
could
I
be a
think most
crazy-
people are.
It could be
Doesn't get any closer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people, I don't think, well, people who want to twist what you're saying, I've seen on social media saying, oh, well, God didn't spare the firefighter who left his family behind. How could you possibly say thank God for saving Trump? So you thank God for Trump and, screw the other guy? Is
Yeah,
that
it's tragic.
basically what
It's
you're
really
saying?
tragic,
God doesn't care about the other guy? No, but there would be far different large-scale national implications had Trump been
Definitely.
killed during that assassination attempt. And there's no two ways about that.
Right.
It would have been different. There would have been massive implications, and it would not have been pretty. I don't know exactly what would have transpired, but ultimately, we would have been living in a very, very different world right now had that
That's
been
right.
what happened. It has nothing to do with the fact that Trump's alive and this poor firefighter is no longer alive. It has to do with the large-scale national and even global implications that would have taken place. I mean, how did World War I start?
Right.
The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I was asking you didn't have that off the top of your head.
Like, wait, where's Mike going with this? Hold on
Go
a
to
second.
Susan for that.
But a lot of there's a number of bad things that could have happened as a result, and I think the country and the world is fortunate that didn't happen. Obviously, we all mourn the death of this firefighter.
Right.
It's
No.
Of
horrible.
course.
I think it's strength and
Horrible.
courage. That's
Yeah.
what I got out of this is strength and courage. That firefighter died by covering his wife and
So heroic.
his daughter or daughters.
it's horrible,
and
yeah.
that's how he died. He died a hero. And Trump, basically almost got assassinated and got back up and put his fist in the air. And any of us going through adversity or tough times in this country, whatever you're going through, just have strength and courage and look to God, look to Jesus, and watch his speech, because I think it affected him, and I think that's what's going to be put out there.
I think so too. And I also pray that if there are any inadequacies in the Secret Service, and there are a lot of questions here, that will be exposed. Find out
Yeah.
what really happened with the Secret Service and the details and all.
Yeah, it better be fixed immediately.
Security
Yeah, it's
details.
ridiculous.
Special shout out to Donald Trump Jr. for continuing to follow us and like all of our posts and share them. We appreciate that. And
Definitely.
listen, I can't imagine what was going on through his head while this is all happening. If I'm
Oh my
having this
goodness.
reaction, I could only imagine it's his dad.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
his
crazy.
dad, and
yeah,
he's been
yeah.
dealing with him doing this to his dad all along.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
right.
I saw him at the convention. He looked surprisingly like in order. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
No, they're
It
very
was
strong. They have a lot of
amazing.
fortitude.
Uh,
Yeah.
props
That's
to you, brother.
Yeah.
And thanks for the support. We're getting some shirts made up. CB made this graphic
Oh yeah.
that was
Yay.
based
Shout out
on.
to CB. All
C-
right.
I
CB.
sent out a post in the immediate aftermath
Mm-hmm.
of the attempt and the iconic fist photo, where I captured a screenshot of the footage, put "Never Surrender" on it, and CB took a little bit of
Awesome.
creative license with that and made a photo of Trump with the fist in the air
okay.
and never surrender and the American flag
Awesome.
in the
Can't wait to see
background.
it.
So I'm going to be making some shirts for personal use. If I have some extra, I might find a way to get them out to
Sounds good.
part of the Mike G in the Morning family.
I'll surrender my Let's Go Brandon shirt and wear that.
Yeah, wear that instead.
Shift
Yeah,
gears here.
I'm trying to get a few of each size, see how they look, and
Yeah.
I certainly want to wear them.
Yeah.
Uh,
That.
And don't forget to encourage everybody to vote. It's so important.
Yes.
Oh, probably the most important thing for the immediate future is we've been talking about this firefighter. There's actually a fundraiser page for his family.
Oh, good.
And if you can donate, anything, whether it's $5, $10, $25, whatever you could spare, please go check that out and donate to these people, because it's just horrible what they're going
Yeah,
through.
can't imagine.
This guy was so excited to go see Trump at the rally. He's posting about it, and that's how the day ends for his family.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's just horrible. They get a whole lifetime of that. So, love, support, prayers to them. But add in a few bucks if you can. Go over to the page. I suppose that's all.
Sounds good.
We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you. Thanks for watching and being a part of the Mike G in the Morning family. You're not alone. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out one of the other videos suggested above.